In this class, we are going to discuss about scope of variables. Parts of the program within which a name is legal and accessible is called scope of the name or the variable. Now, what is actually the parts of the program? Parts of the program depends upon the sessions where we are writing it. Okay, so broadly it can be classified into global and local scope. But even though it has again subdivisions, and we will be seeing in this sessions how the variables scope varies in different scopes. Okay, so we'll see what is the global and local scope. So what is a global scope? The global scope is actually the scope where the variable is defined outside any function. That means the global variable does not comes inside any functions in the Python, which is defined outside the function. Okay, all the function defined. If you have 5 functions or n functions, the variable which is defined outside all the functions is called as a global variable or a global function also. It is like that. Okay, now what is local? Local scope is the variable when it is defined inside any function. Any function, if the variable is defined within the function, such variables are said to have a local scope. And what is global? Global is a variable defined in the main program. Okay, what is main program? It is nothing but what I said now. It is which is not inside any function. Okay, which is not inside any function, which is defined outside all the functions. Such variables or functions are called global. Now, this is the broad classification. We'll see in a this is actually the 4 different scopes. Okay, the broad classification is global and local, but even though these are the actual classification which comes. Okay, we say it's local, it's global, but even though there is 2 more things which comes, which is called as inbuilt scope and non-local scope. Okay, we'll understand it this better in this class. Okay, now local, in this picture you can very well see that the local scope is the most innermost scope, and the function which encloses that scope is called as non-local, and which is being enclosed by the global, and above all comes the built-in scope. Okay, one by one we'll see how these scopes will be, we can access the variables inside each scope. What are the keywords which is being used to access the scope variables in another scope. Okay. So now we'll go with an example, a simple example we'll take to understand the local scope. Okay, now see, you have a statement written as inner function. This is the, as in earlier we have seen, this main program, isn't it? In the main program, that means this is the session where the main program will call. There is no main program and all written. This is a session where we'll call it as the main part. Okay, so in the main part we are writing inner function. Okay, inner function we are calling, we are not writing, we are not defining, we are calling the inner function. Okay, so in the inner function, when it comes this part, okay, this part of the inner function is called as the local. Okay, this is local, this part is local. Okay, so in the inner function, what is defined? We have written x is equal to 10 and print x. So inside the inner, we have defined x is equal to 10. Okay, and we are asking to print x there itself. And you can see, children, it is being printed here. See, x is equal to 10. It's very well printed, no error. But after the inner function scope is only up to this. So inner function scope is over. And when it comes out, you're asking to print x again. And where you're asking to print x again? In the main session. In the main session or the main program part, which is global part, you're asking to print x, and which is showing a name error. Which is showing a name error. So what does it illustrate? It illustrates that the local variable which is defined inside a local session or a local scope cannot be accessed in the global scope. The Python will not permit to access us in the global part. It will be accessing only in the inner scope of the function. Okay. Now coming to if you are defining a global variable in this program, what will happen if you are defining a variable globally and you are trying to access? Okay, now we are going to we have defined a variable y is equal to 20 in the global session. Okay, now this and this is outside the function inner, so it comes under the global part. In the global part, you are declared a variable y, and this y is being asked to print inside the inner function. See, you're asking to print it inside the inner function, and it is being printed also. The y is printed. This print is y is equal to 20, which is defined here. Y is defined here, and it is being printed. Okay, next it is asking to print x. So x is being printed here with value 10, and then you are asking to print y, which will be printing 20, and all the values as being printed properly. So a global variable can be accessed inside a local. It can be only accessed. Okay, since it is not defined here, it will jump and see y is not defined here, so it will check y outside, and the y is found here, so that value is being printed. Okay, so like this, the global value can be accessed inside a local. So here we have written here the y is global variable and x is a local variable. Now moving further, okay, here what we are going to do here, see, there we have accessed. Now we are going to redefining the global variable y, redefining. Okay, we are giving another value for y here, the same variable which is there in the global. The variable is being used here. We are making redefining it. Okay, we are redefining it, and we are asking to print the value there. So the value y is already there in the global, which is before going to inner function, we are asking to print y, and it is very well printing the value 20 here. Okay. Next, you are jumping to the inner function, where you have x is equal to 10 and y is equal to 5. So the y is means the global variable is redefined here, and you're asking to print x. So x value is 10. Okay, it will be printing 10, and then you have changed the value of y here, redefined, and the changed value is being printed here. That is also possible. It is redefining and you are getting the correct output. Now the change comes when we are going to the next slide. You can see what we are going to do next is we are going to modify the global variable. We are going to modify the global variable in local scope. Now what does it mean? See, here we have the same program, but here instead of writing it as, see, previous what I have written? I have written y is equal to 5, is it not? Y is equal to 5. Now I am changing it to y is equal to y plus 1. We are modifying the global. I am using the global here, the value, and I am changing it to y. Okay. Now what happens here? So first, coming to the main part, this will be executed first. First it is written print y. Y is being printed. See children, it is being printed here, isn't it? Y is being printed. The value is 20. We have already given. It is printed here. Next we are calling inner function. We are jumping to the inner function. Okay, it is jumped to the inner function. You are asking x is equal to 10. And then the modifying statement you have written as y is equal to y plus 1. And this statement creates an error here. And what the error says? The error is unbound local error. Unbound local error. That means the Python is not allowing you to modify the global variable. So you can redefine it, but you cannot access, you cannot change the value in the local scope. Okay, global values, a global variable's value cannot be modified inside a local scope. Okay, so what can be done to change the value in the local scope? To change the global variable's value inside the local scope, what has to be done? Okay, so that we'll see here. Okay, see, for changing it, we will be using a global keyword. Okay, we'll be using the global keyword to change the value of the global variable inside a local scope. So once you are using this global keyword, the Python will allow us to modify it. So that there the significance of global comes. Okay, so using this global keyword, we can modify the global variable inside a local scope, and you are getting the answer correctly here without any error. See, you have printed y, it is printing 20 here. Then the inner function, we are jumping to inner function, and there you are changing the value of y to y plus 1, and then you are asking to print x. So x value is 10, so it is printing 10, and then the modified value of y is being printed here. It will be printing outside. Okay, so this is how the it can be modified inside the global. Okay, now coming to the next part of non-local. Okay, non-local, how we can access. So for non-local enclosing scope, okay, we have to declare nested functions. We have to declare nested functions, then only we can understand the non-local, because non-local comes which is not global and which is not local also. So for that we have to use nested functions, isn't it? Nested functions has to be used. Nested function. And what is nested function here? See, nested function. Nested function is the outer is an function which is enclosing the inner function. Inner function is enclosed inside the outer function. And in the outer function I have defined z is equal to 40, and this z is being printed here in the outer function. Okay, and now we'll see how the enclosing or the scope works. Okay, so here also when I am asking to modify the local variable inside the non-local variable inside the local scope, I am asking to z is equal to z plus 1. Okay, z is equal to z plus 1 is given inside the local scope. Z is a non-local. Z is non-local, and which I am asking to modify it inside the local. Okay, so this will show an error because non-local variable cannot be accessed inside the local scope, which will be an error. Okay, now how to overcome this? How to access the non-local inside the local? So this can be done by using the non-local keyword. Okay, using the non-local keyword we can modify the non-local inside a local function. And how it can be done? Using this. Okay, using this non-local keyword it can be done. And children, see how it is printing. See, the outer function is called in the global area, and the outer function it jumps here, isn't it? With y it comes here, and then you have defined z is equal to 40, and inside the inner you have x is equal to 10, and the non-local z. Okay, when you do this, okay, this statement when it is executing, it will take the value of z from the non-local area, and it is being added up, okay, with 1, and you're asking to print x here. So print x, it will print 10, and inside the function it will be printing the modified value, it is incremented one as 41, and coming out to the outer it will also vary, isn't it? It is being changed and it is printing the value 41. Okay, so this is how the enclosing variable can be changed. The values can be changed in the local scope using the non-local keyword. Okay, hope it is clear for you. Now the next what we have to look into it is the built-in scope. Built-in scope. Now children, built-in scope are the scope which we are very much familiar. Okay, we are using the print function, isn't it? So far we are using many times, we are using the print function. We are using int function, is it not? We are using int function. Then we are using input function, is it not? These all functions, we are not defining anything. Okay, it is already being defined. Okay, print what is has to be done is not told by us. It is already being defined by the Python what print function has to be has to do. Okay, so that is called as the built-in scope. So those all functions scope is called as built-in scope, and those functions are called built-in functions also. So the built-in scope contains all built-in variables and built-in functions in Python. So its scope is beyond a program. Is it not? It's clear. So when you come inside a program, the outermost is the global, then it comes into the enclosing, and then it comes to the local. Now, how the Python is actually using, or by which rule it is being, the name has been resolved. Okay, so for that we must know a rule which is called as LEGB rule. Okay, LEGB rule. So we will see that rule. What is that rule? Okay, so LEGB rule. Here the L stands for local. Okay, L is local, and whenever a program, you're writing a program and you're accessing a variable in local, so it will first check in local, okay, whether it is there in local. If the variable which you are accessing in local area is not present in local scope, it will jump to the enclosed scope. Okay, so that is E. That is LE, enclosed scope. So it will jump to the enclosed scope and check whether it is present in enclosed. If it is not present in enclosed, that will jump to the global session and global scope, and it will check whether the variable is present in global. And if it is not present in global, it will check in the built-in. Okay, in built-in, it will check whether the variable is present in built-in. Here also, if the built-in also does not have the variable, then it will create an error that the variable is not present, or the name error will be displayed. Okay, so that is what is called LEGB rule. So what is LEGB rule? LEGB rule checks in order of local, then enclosed, then global, then built-in, and then it resolves the name. Okay, now we'll understand better with an example. This example I am taking, I am directly going to the Python. We'll run the program and then we'll check it out. Okay, so this is the program. Okay, I'll just make the changes here. Okay, now you have a program here where the global part you are calling the outer function, and you have defined an x in global as 5, and you are defining an outer function which is having x is equal to 10. We are redefining it here as 10, and then inside the inner again you are changing the value as 50, and here you are asking to print x. So what will happen when you save the program? Save it and then run. So what are you getting here? You're getting 15, is it not? You're getting the value 15. Okay. Now what happens if I am commenting this? I'm commenting this, and the print statement is we are accessing in the local scope only, but I'm commenting the x inside the inner scope, and save the file and run the program. Okay, now you got the value 10. You got the value 10, which is the enclosing value. So once it is not present in local, it is checking to the enclosing where you have an x with a value, and that is being picked up and it is being printed out. Okay, what if I am commenting this and saving the file and run it again? Now you are getting the value of the global, is it not? It will jump to the global, and it is because it's not present yet, it's just enclosing one as global for outer. So it is taking that value. So again, if I am commenting that also, and if I am running it, now you got the error, Is it not? Because X is not defined in the global also. It's not anywhere. It's not present. So it will show a name error and it is telling X is not defined. Okay. Now you understand the scopes of the 4 levels of the scope and how it is can be accessed in different levels. Okay. Thank you.